Hi guys, what's up? And today we are going to be looking at a new design for a factions base that I came up with several months ago, and since I don't play factions anymore, I figured what the heck, I might as well share it with the world. Okay, so this thing has lots of features going on about it. If you look inside, it's nothing that complex. It's got a example chest with some stuff that you might have in it. It's got a couple of iron doors so that you can leave the place. It's got water on it. Now, the idea behind this base is that you would build it on a faction server that has Obsidian Breaker. Now, what this means is, if you detonate Obsidian excuse me, if you detonate TNT on top of obsidian for a certain number of times, the obsidian will blow. So, for example, if you blow on one faction server, it was 2 TNT to blow up an obsidian. On another, it was 8 TNT to blow up an obsidian. It depends on what your server settings are, but either way, if your server has Obsidian Breaker, then this is the tutorial for you. Now, since that doesn't work in vanilla Minecraft, I'm going to replace this obsidian with endstone to better simulate an attack. Okay, so I meant to make a recording earlier, but I messed up, so I ended up building this TNT cannon, and this is what optimally would happen. Okay, actually that's not very optimal at all because the TNT went off to the side, but I'm going to assume that at this point you've fired off a couple of shots with the sand cannon. Okay, maybe not a couple, maybe more than a couple actually, because this would take a little bit. So anyway, you've built up some sand and you fire your TNT cannon, and that this can get a little bit expensive really quickly, but you just got inside of his base and you got all of his stuff. Great. It was all the stuff that was in his base was some wood, some cobblestone, a couple of iron, maybe a little bit of armor. On some faction servers, this isn't really that great. On many others, it could be better. But if you've come after this base thinking that that's all that you're going to have to deal with, then you've made the same fallacy that many others have made with the base that I really made. Because this thing right here that you just saw, this is nothing but a big fat red herring. Because you came over here and you're walking along and you see this base on the ground, and you think, oh goody, someone built an easy base to raid. Wrong! So, I want you to take a real close look in the sky. You can't really see anything, can you? Well, maybe. You can see a square, it's kind of hard to make out, and it takes a well-trained pair of eyes to spot this, and it is quite far up in the air, as you can see, because I used camouflage. I have employed camouflage with this base that I have sitting in the air, and, well, in this case, I used gray hardened clay to make the base look like it was the same color as the sky. Whatever area you choose to build this in, I chose to build this in the end because the technology behind it works a little better here. But if you build it in the overworld, then you'll want it to work a little bit better. And if you would have rated that other base without checking the sky first, without seeing this, this is what you would have missed. I think I put. Anyway, if you had gone and rated that base down below without checking the sky first, you would have missed all these goodies. I had to quickly come up with an example chest. So, and also, if you're in the overworld when you build this base, make sure that you use a different color of whatever decoration block you use. It probably won't be stained clay because that's a darker color. You might want to consider using light blue wool or something like that. I don't know. Let your inner artist come out. Anyway, so first of all, I'm going to cut this. Well, actually, I'm going to turn all this obsidian into endstone like I did before. Whoops. Press on the other side. Different corner. Okay, there we go. It didn't get the whole thing. Alright, good enough. Okay, so, as you can see, this is what it looks like now, and if you come on out here, this is what it looks like on the outside. And I'm going to cut this thing in half. Dang it. Alright, and as you can see, lava is just pouring out of the sides. It's doing its very best to do what it's designed to do, and that is to regenerate itself after it has been blown to pieces. Now, of course, I can't use this side to test the TNT attack, but as you can see, it creates this humongous wall, and pretty much will have trouble getting back in if it, oh, well, I seem to have made a design flaw in that it's not completely immune to being cut in half, but if it's attacked from the outside and not cut in half, then it works. So, you see how it's got all this lava, and that is designed to make it pretty much invulnerable to attack. I mean, you can get in eventually after many hours of continuous bombardment, but here's generally what would happen. So here's what will happen. I had to give myself a little bit of a handicap because I'm out of practice with this, but here's, you fire the TNT cannon, and you give yourself a little bit more handicap because you suck at this now. And you fire it again, and you wait for it to go off. Well, it just went off, but since we're on obsidian and not endstone, we're gonna have to fire it a few more times as well. And now that the lava has been deployed, we get to experience what it's like to have the lava go onto the water, which can be quite frustrating at times. So, because we're persistent, and because, unlike the defenders, we are the attackers, and therefore time is always on our side, we can keep attacking. Unfortunately, time may be on our side, but that doesn't mean that the resources are on our side, because we'll eventually run out of TNT, but as you can see, stone has already begun to form. But let's keep attacking. Let's just keep attacking. In fact, let's set up a clock. That way we can keep attacking relentlessly over and over and over. Redstone block. And redstone torch. Replace that with that. Torch. Okay, that is... Hold the phone. That did not work well, because I said it too quickly. One more time. See, this is what it should be doing. But as you can see, if I'm sitting in here, I'm pretty much safe. It's not gonna get through at all. In fact, all it's doing is just blasting through the side there. It'll take some pretty serious luck for it to get through, but maybe if I help it out a little, because I've been giving myself lots of handicaps lately. Okay, it opened up a little bit more of a hole. But I think you're starting to see the problem here. The lava alone is enough to make it not work. then there's the fact that for every block of progress that's made, a mile of cobblestone forms along the way, and it basically makes it absolutely impossible to get through, even using endstone, and this isn't obsidian. You would have to take some pretty seriously obsessive measures to get it to work. I'm going to just let it deplete of its TNT. I think it did. So yeah, it takes more than a stack of TNT to blast through, even accounting for the fact that it's only endstone and not obsidian. And if this were a real-world situation, well, first of all, you wouldn't be able to hit it so easily because this is what would happen without that handicap. It would fly off the other side. Consistently. In fact, you would completely miss it at this range. You'd have to try harder. But I'm not going to do that. Anyway, so this has been my base. Now, the lava is an important factor in building this base, but then there's also the fact that it's got a huge water jacket around it. I suggest that you make this 2 blocks thick instead of 1 block thick. That allows hybrid cannons to have a more difficult time with dealing with this thing. What that means is, what a hybrid cannon is, let's say that, excuse me, I'm going to get out glass, not golf, glass, water, TNT, and sand. Now, if you guys are familiar with factions, you'll know exactly what I'm about to do, but for those of you who aren't familiar with factions, let me just build this 3x3 area of water, and then I'm going to demonstrate to you what exactly I mean by a hybrid cannon. Because these things are pretty decently powerful. Water alone can make the difference between TNT blowing up this glass and the TNT not blowing up this glass. In fact, here, I'll show you. 3, 2, 1. Boom. The glass is intact. However, what do you think is going to happen if I ignite the TNT? Is it going to blow up the glass? No? Yes? You probably don't think so. So let's find out. It blew a hole in the glass. It blew right through that glass. Oh my goodness. What just happened? That, my friends, was what is known as a hybridized TNT projectile. Whenever you blow up TNT inside of a piece of sand, it basically treats that piece of sand as though it's a piece of air, and that's why it acted as though it weren't surrounded by water. I mean, it was, but it was within the piece of sand, and that's why it acted like it was within air. And that is the type of projectile that I must worry about, or that you must worry about with this base. But then that is also a projectile you must worry about with any base that's using a water jacket in Obsidian on this type of server, which is why I suggest you also use the red herring technique to distract people from your main base, camouflage to make the red herring more effective, and in a hybridized regenerative wall technology, so that you don't have to deal with effective hybrid cannons. Yeah, all the defenses in this base are really complex, but if you're under attack and all else fails, there is only one thing that I suggest you can do, and that is to get the heck out of Dodge. To find an alternative base and a backup base, get everything out of there and get all your stuff and just go. That way, when anyone finally breaks in, after many hours, days, or even weeks of effort, they finally bust into your base, and then they're all like, oh yippee, I finally made it into this absolute pain. I am in here, I have all the stuff, I have nothing. So yeah, if you hear TNT explosions outside, grab your stuff and go, and wait until they stop attacking your base, because once they've given up, they probably aren't going to come back. I mean, there's a good chance that they won't, or they'll give up before they even get inside of your base, but if they do get in your base, come back anyway, because this allows you to see if they've figured out a method around it, and you can tweak the design from there. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. I hope that it has been helpful in your faction's adventures. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a nice day.